Welcome to the Generous Business Owner Podcast, where business owners gain inspiration and encouragement to live a legacy, not just leave one. And now your hosts, Jeff Thomas, Alan Barnhart, and Jeff Rutt.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's Generous Business Owner Podcast. My name is Jeff Thomas, and Jeff Rutt's with us today. Say hello to the people, Jeff.
Hello to the people.
We have a very special guest with us today, Ivan Barratt, who is in Indiana. He runs the BAM Companies, which is really a company focused on large apartment communities in the Midwest. Ivan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to be here.
Jeff, kick us off.
Yeah, welcome, Ivan. So glad to have you here. Tell us about what the early years were like in the Barratt family.
Oh, you guys said before we were going to record, we're going to go into the early ugly days. So we'll go straight there. Yeah. Been in real estate for 25 years. And, 2006 or so, thought I was pretty hot stuff in real estate. I was working for different developers, basically as their in-house broker or sales guy. And so I didn't get paid anything unless I sold something, but I got to learn a lot of lessons. The biggest lesson being 2008, very humbling years for me. And by 2009, my wife at the time is my girlfriend. I'm trying to convince her to marry me. I find myself $200,000 in debt and negative $5,000 a month in cash flow. Because I'd basically been practicing real estate like, big hat, no cattle, cowboy. And when the market changed, that all just rolled off a cliff. And I'll never forget her saying, "Hey, if I was $200,000 in debt, negative $5,000 a month in cash flow, would you marry me?" And that it was humbling. It was humiliating. At one point, I would drive 45 minutes from my house 4 or 5 nights a week to a place I hope nobody would recognize me, and I would deliver pizza just to get cash coming in because we were lower than bottom. I was in the hole big time. But that's where we started digging out, and in parallel to this journey I've been on, that's when we also started giving.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Jeff, maybe take them back even further.
Yeah. So Ivan, sorry, I should have clarified. Go back a little bit further in the household you grew up in the Barratt household. So faith components, anything illegal that you sold in junior high that you can talk about on air. Where did that entrepreneurial spirit? How soon did it start? What was it like in the younger years?
Well, I don't know if I'm at liberty to say about anything illegal. Certainly things I did, would be considered illegal at the time, but definitely didn't sell any illegal products. No, I grew up in a middle class family in Indianapolis, Indiana. Dad was a stay-at-home attorney. He had a practice in an office next to the garage, and my mom's an interior designer. Did not really grow up in faith. I mean, we went to church. I got to experience youth group a little bit. But I would say we're a little bit better than Creasters, Christmas and Easter, growing up. And it wasn't a big part of the family dynamic. Even went to Catholic high school. And probably because I wasn't listening, I didn't really hear the gospel there either. But thankfully the nuns took pity on me and taught me a lot. Really didn't come to Christ until my 20s. Jesus and my wife were a package deal.
Okay.
But my dad owned rental property and would make my brother and I mow lawns, pull weeds, rake leaves, and I absolutely just hated it. But got an early taste of what income property could provide from an investment and cash flow standpoint. And so got the bug for real estate pretty early, had jobs. Sports weren't a huge priority in my family, but I had a job. Literally could mow the lawn at age 7. You couldn't have your dad arrested back in those days for making you do labor at age 7.
Yeah.
Got a paper route at age 10. Around 14 or 15, had my first sales job, my first commission sales job.
What?
And
What were you
that's
selling at that
I
age?
was selling shoes at the mall
What?
for a competitor to Foot Locker called Athlete's Foot.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
I still remember the other guys complaining to the manager about my sales tactics. I would come in as early as possible when those Michael Jordans would drop, and I would sell the crap out of them before anybody else knew what happened. I was just running back and forth to the stock room, and I was just more aggressive
awesome.
and more on top of it. It got me in a little hot water there. The manager told me to back off a little bit. But that was my first taste of sales and a gift, a talent that I had,
Mm-hmm.
and really leaned into that into my career.
That's awesome.
Now you go off to IU, and of course we're recording this after a big victory. This will drop a couple of months later, but still basking in the glory, perhaps, of the Indiana football win
Oh yeah.
for the
Oh
big
yeah,
win there.
we've gone from zero to hero. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happened in the great state of Indiana and with the IU Hoosiers football program.
Yeah.
Of course, I knew this was inevitable. I knew we would go from worst to first.
Yes, of course.
No, seriously. Yeah, it's been super fun to watch, especially given now as we're recording this, the Colts lost their quarterback. The Pacers all-star is still out for the season, so we're hanging our hats on Hoosier football.
Perfect. You haven't been able to do that in 80 years, but you can now. So it's fantastic.
I don't
Bask
know
in
if
the
we did
glory.
all that much 80 years ago, but we are a football college now.
Yeah, yeah. It's so you go off to IU, you study real estate finance, right? So I assume mowing the lawns didn't turn you completely sour on the idea. And of course, we know you're in real estate now. But what was the thinking with picking that major?
Well, very fortunate. So when I graduated high school, Rich Dad Poor Dad came out.
Oh yeah,
My
right.
dad gave me that book, and so that only reinforced my desire to go far in real estate and be a real estate entrepreneur. And back then, the Kelley School of Business at IU would let anybody in. Somehow, I think they took pity, or I maybe I nailed it with the essay because I was the guy that had to work real hard to get B's.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, the thinking was I was going to go into real estate, do big development deals, and be ultra successful. Of course, that was a winding road to get there. But from an early age, wanted to invest in real estate and figure out the real estate game.
Did you go work for somebody else right away? I know you kind of started with the kind of '06 into '08 kind of collapse, but what was going on those first 5 years out of school?
Yeah, so I was really lucky to get in with my first real estate mentor by basically jamming my foot in his door and saying, "I want to work to learn, not to earn. I'll work for free." And eventually became part of his team. And so I got to work on development projects starting in I think early '03. Before that, I had some odd jobs in real estate. I was cataloging environmental sites for some guys that were looking to turn old dry cleaners into redevelopment. And through that, I found some new relationships and got my foot in the door. And so I would sell for this developer and eventually a second one. But I got to wear a lot of different hats besides selling. I got to see the entire project life cycle of a development deal, from feasibility, financing, zoning, boots on the ground, getting shovels in the dirt, development, and ultimately the sale of the end product. So got a really good foundation coming out of IU of just in it every day, learning. And then when I was working for those guys, I'm tallying up all the development deals we have, and I was going to make several $1 million in fees, being the low guy on the totem pole, before it all fell off a cliff and went to zero.
Right.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
you were working in that.
Still talk to one of those guys regularly today. He's still kind of a father figure for me.
Mm.
Was that in that '08 period? But
Prior to '08 and up through about '08, '09, I still hung on as long as I could, and then finally decided to start my own company in 2010.
okay. So your negative cash flow though for selling for somebody else. Explain how you go negative selling for somebody else.
That's a great question, Jeff.
Yeah.
So as a dumb 20-year-old something, um, I took out second mortgages on the two properties that I owned to fund my lifestyle till the cows came in.
Gotcha.
And of course, the market changed. The cows don't come in, but I still got the debt around my neck.
Right. Right. Yes. Those
Yeah.
are life lessons that one never forgets.
Oh
So,
gosh, forever changed my DNA as a real estate
oh,
investor
for
and
sure.
operator. And really, I consider it one of the biggest gifts of my career, right up there with my business partner, who I've been partnered with for about 10 years now. But that was a huge gift to get that humbling lesson early enough into my career where it didn't totally destroy me, and it taught me some valuable lessons for the future.
But before it was a couple of extra zeros a month in the,
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Saw
yeah.
guys that were 10 years ahead of me
Oh,
lose houses and businesses and marriages and all kinds of turmoil.
yeah. I mean, so what were a few of those lessons that you still apply today? I'm sure there's some financial discipline, but if you had to summarize a couple of them, what would it be?
Well, the biggest one is we don't take a lot of development risk. We look for income producing assets that are already built, that are already going,
Okay.
that are somewhat screwed up or undermanaged. So we're
Okay.
more looking to buy a business that's got some hair on it, some mess, maybe an out-of-state owner who's got a third party in there managing the property, some kind of mess that we can clean up. And so I'd rather buy a business that's cash flowing day one and bring in the BAM team to make it cash flow more. We do a little bit of development, but we're very restrictive on when we do that and don't take those types of swings too often.
Gotcha.
And then financing. I saw in that time, because of Fannie and Freddie and HUD and the government mandate to provide affordable housing for folks out there, there's a lot more financing options in the multifamily space on the debt side, which adds more liquidity and adds more stability and less risk when you've got an asset class where somebody needs a roof over their head versus retail or office or hospitality or healthcare, any other of the asset classes. It's a little bit more essential.
Uh, so we know that partnerships are often the hardest ships to sail. So talk about your partnership. When did the partnership begin? Was that right away, or did you go through a few partners, or do it by yourself for a while? How the partnership evolved?
Yeah, the short answer is I did it by myself for about the first 5 years. I did have a partner that lasted maybe 3 or 4 months before we unwound that. That was pretty terrible. But luckily, that guy saw that he wasn't cut out for it, and we just unwound it. And right about the same time, my partner Adam came along, who's been my partner now for it'll be 11 years this summer.
Wow. And how
And
do you how you divide the work and so forth? And
yeah, we didn't know it at the time, so I can't say that I was really looking for it. It's definitely God at work for sure, but we are very opposite in nature. He's a lot smarter than me on the operating side of the house, managing people. He's even better at the deal evaluation and discipline than I am. I wouldn't say that I like every deal I see, but he's a lot more pessimistic and what could go wrong first.
mm-hmm.
And if you've got listeners out there that are EOS fans, he's a true integrator, and I stay in the visionary lane. And what's happened is the sum of the parts, or the whole rather, has been greater than the sum of the parts. So we've got our respective lanes. We're really good at staying out of each other's lanes. My wife will ask me from time to time, how do you and Adam argue so well? So it's not without its heated debates, but we can always find agreement at the end. Never had to pull rank, and like 2008 was a blessing. This too, our partnership has been a huge, tremendous blessing for me and for the BAM fam here at the company.
Bam fam, I like that. And when did the faith component? I know you've been through some halftime or 100x work and that sort of thing. What was the evolution of your thinking about? Obviously it's the Generous Business Owner podcast. When did the thinking about giving back or generosity or just having more purpose in your life kind of come to the fore?
Well, I was thinking about this leading up to the podcast. So it had to have been about 15 years ago now.
Hmm.
Aaron Brockett, pastor at Traders Point Christian Church here in Indianapolis, was preaching on giving like he does this time of year quite often. But he brought up a story. I want to say it was from the book The Blessed Life.
Hmm.
But basically, the tenet of the story was giving early, giving before you're ready,
Hmm.
and sort of dispelling that often used phrasing we hear out there. Hey, when I have more, I'll give more.
Right.
When I become successful. And he talked about this gentleman in the book that just started with a small percentage
Hmm.
and then increased it 1% a year.
Hmm.
And my wife and I kind of look at each other and we're like, we could do that. We could do that right now. And I think we started off at about 3% off the top of anything we made, we were giving back to the church. And our goal was to increase it, 1% a year.
Hmm.
And we've been able to increase it a little bit faster than that at times. But it just got us in the habit of giving first.
Yeah.
And so giving first, then setting aside what we're gonna reinvest, what we're gonna save, and then working hard to live on the rest.
It's kind of a giving
Live what's
snowball, a little bit of a giving snowball,
Yeah. Yeah. It
it-
starts, if you're gonna go to the gym, do 10
right.
push-ups and maybe do 11 tomorrow.
Yep.
Exactly. And then before you know it, you look back and you go, wow, I really like that. And what are some of the things that that you like getting involved in? As that number gets bigger, what has that done for you? How has that changed your marriage? How does it change your business, your walk with God, your partnership, all those kind of things?
I think it's helped increase my faith, just seeing God's provision, just seeing what we've been able to accomplish here as a company. So I'm still very involved with the company and the direction.
Yeah.
And we recently finally came out with our statement of faith. Both Adam and I are both men of faith, but we decided to put our money where our mouth is and worked with a consultant to help us do that in a way that doesn't open us up to litigation out there, but that we could show that, hey, you don't have to be a Christian to work here, but Christians run this company, and our values and our way of doing things is rooted in that. And so we've been able to share that a little bit. The company itself tries to make impact as best it can here in the great state of Indiana. And both Adam and I give personally to the things that we care about. And lastly, and I'll encourage this to any entrepreneurs listening. Some of the best things we've done for our children is taking them on mission trips, even at a young age, and getting them outside of their bubble. They're very, very fortunate to be born and live where they live and the time that they live in, and to show them that most of the world doesn't live that way, and hopefully gain a little perspective as they grow and evolve. I think is going to be a mission critical for raising well-adjusted kids.
Yeah. I know that's a passion of Jeff Rutt's. He's got.
Well, we haven't gone to Jeff Rutt level by any stretch.
He's
But
got pictures behind him. For those, jump on YouTube and look at his pictures behind him. Jeff, you got to scan over to your granddaughter picture so you can move your camera. But I think you got a group picture there, probably with the family behind you. But yeah, we're big believers in the take the fam on the mission trip with you. Are you doing some things related to apartment life, that sort of thing?
Well, the apartment part of it gets a little tricky because we're a for-profit investment manager. We work all retail with all retail clients. What that means is families and individuals that are writing $200,000 checks to $15 million checks.
Yeah.
And so at the apartment level, there's a profit motive there. And so where we look to make impact is at the company level, what we do with our share of the profits,
Right.
both as a company and as the Adam and I as the owners of the company.
Right. So what are some of the passions that you have? Kind of what breaks your heart in terms of causes?
Yeah, the company's really passionate about Firefly, which is one of the oldest nonprofits in the state of Indiana, out there helping families who have come on hard times. in many cases getting their kids back when they've hit a big bump in the road. So we do a lot to lean in and volunteer with them, as well as give our treasure. We give a lot of time as a company. For me, I support that mission group. Melissa and I support the church, and then our mission group that took us on those home builds. Some really fantastic people that run that, but they were at a fork in the road where the husband either had to go back to corporate life to put food on the table, or continue to do about 20 to 30 home builds a year, as well as marriage retreats. Puts on a great father-son camp and a great father-daughter camp. Those are sacred weekends for me. And so me and a couple other faith-minded individuals here in Indianapolis support that mission. And then, like most people that have a little bit of reputation out there, my wife and I will get hit up by various organizations where we'll give smaller checks too, but for things that hit our heart. There's a group trying to end shoe insecurity here that gives new shoe to kids in impoverished neighborhoods. There's some cancer stuff we do because that hits pretty close to home for us and most people out there. And of course, big chunk goes back to the church.
Right. How is
Trader Point's doing?
How has this affected your organization, your employees? You kind of come in public with a Christian mission and vision statement. What has been the reaction from your staff?
I think it's been positive. It's probably sort of also been took you guys long enough.
Yeah, like you were more worried about it than they were.
Probably. I mean, there are a lot of Christians in the organization. Again, you don't have to be Christian to work here. We want to be salt and light out there in the world. But we've been doing a lot of things, and what's really helped us grow and do what we've done, being on the Inc. 5000 list now for the 8th time in a row, is by being generous owners with our employees and doing the best we can to take care of people, be loyal to people, help them when they're down, and create a culture that's not just a place to work, but having a little fun on the side. And, property management's a tough business. And we started off early on with the question, what would it look like if we had a property management company where people liked their job? And we worked pretty hard at that. I don't get much credit these days for that. I get credit for the vision, but there's a lot of great people here that have taken that proverbial baton and run with it and executed on it in ways I couldn't have imagined. And it's fun to watch.
That's great. What are some of the things you do internally that you think that helps build that culture?
Well, I can't help but be amazed at all the people that raise their hand to volunteer for the various events that we volunteer with for Firefly, people that are coming in on their off days or in evenings and weekends to help. I'm looking forward to our Christmas party. Just for the record, it's not a holiday party. We have a Christmas party at BAM. No expense spared every year. Plated dinner, award ceremony, after party where we all probably have a little bit too much to drink. Literally one of my favorite nights of the year to celebrate everyone. And we try to have something, maybe not quite to that level, but try to have something where we bring everybody together a few times a year and really lean into our people. We love to take care of our maintenance folks. Those are the unsung heroes in apartments. The leasing and property management, they're the ones that lease it up, but the maintenance folks are the ones that keep it leased up by responding to residents when they've got issues, keeping the wheels turning and taking care of the physical nature of the assets.
Right. And then this love that culture building. And when you did this sort of 100X project for yourself, what did you learn? What was the motivation, and what did you learn through that program, and what are you going to maybe change going forward?
Well, Don's been a mentor of mine, even though I'm 10 years older than him. He's taught me a lot. So it's always good to brush up against that iron there and sharpen my own iron.
One winner, sure. Mm-hmm.
And meeting Lloyd was fantastic.
Lloyd Reeb, yep.
Yep, Lloyd Reeb. And really, I've been on this mission to just deep in my bench of strong Christian men in my life that have wisdom to impart. It did shock me a little bit. You know, there was folks in there that have made significant wealth that are still trying to figure out how to give it away and haven't really given much away. So that was an eye opener. I did have the unfortunate occurrence of meeting Jeff Rutt there too. That was a low point in the forums, but you know, you can't please everybody.
It was definitely a high point for me.
And you know, in all seriousness, hearing Jeff's story and what he's done with his company and the impact he's made, it was like, wow, I thought I was brave. This guy's Superman.
Yeah.
And so being exposed to that and just hearing those stories and gathering that wisdom was way worth the price of admission.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really what we're trying to do with this podcast is just, you know, as all of us are just kind of business owners that are, you know, have received some breadcrumbs of hints from others, and are trying to drop a few for the people behind us. So, if you're around Lloyd Reeb, you're going to end up with a, you know, annual plan or a roadmap or something. Is there anything on that roadmap that you're willing to share that's kind of a little bit of a aha moment for you or something you're working on?
Well, while you were talking, I was just thinking, you know, for your entrepreneurs out there that are maybe not quite as far down the road,
Right.
The more you do this, the more
Yeah.
God is gonna
Put your
put through
hands
you
open.
to get out
Yes.
in the world, right? And so if you can start working that muscle early,
Mhm.
in faith and that fear subsides.
Mhm.
And you know, if you're an entrepreneur, you're listening to this, you've probably got some semblance of faith, right? And it takes faith to do this, whether you're a believer or not. I can say without question that the provision and the things that have happened in my life by having this sort of open hand stance has been truly tremendous. And I don't think we'd be where we are today if I was trying to miserly hold on to it all.
Mhm.
I think this observation you made of some guys in a group, and I think I really appreciate your highlighting the value of having other people around you to learn from, younger and older, but at different ages and stages. And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
Jeff. That's maybe the aha we need to focus on here. And you know, I just got back from the Refuge, which is a really cool spot in Montana where they bring
yeah,
out groups of pastors. And my pastor invited me and a group of guys to go duck hunting. It was literally a blast, pun
right.
intended. I didn't know this, but the vast majority of pastors out there feel isolated and alone. And I think that is the same for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Totally agree.
And I would be an evangelist for peer groups, whether they're faith-based or not. Of course, faith-based is a plus, but getting around some like-minded individuals that are going through the same thing I am,
Mhm.
and having a group that I can talk to and be vulnerable with,
Mhm.
and then mirroring that with some sort of coaching or
Yeah.
advice or mentorship or advising. Those two aspects have been rocket fuel for my trajectory.
Mhm.
And I couldn't imagine not doing it with with a group of people that are trying to do the same thing. It would be very isolating, very hard, and extremely lonely.
Mhm.
I think you're right on the money with that. And you know, we always try to wrap with a practical tip, but maybe it's more of a riff on that. You know, if people are
Yeah.
starting like, well, I don't know where to find that. I mean, what's just somebody's listening to this on the treadmill and they're like, man, I got to go find something. Where do you start? You know?
EO, Vistage, those have a lower bar to get into.
Yeah.
I went the EO route, then I went to YPO. Now I'm in Tiger 21. I've been through 100X. There's groups out there that are even higher up the ladder. But
C12,
a lot of
C12 is one that I'm in and
that's a great one.
people are
You know,
in.
there's a lot of peer-to-peer groups out there.
Yeah.
It's not so much about I would just caution any entrepreneur, don't get bogged down in analysis paralysis, right?
Right.
Because you could always move on to another one later. but just pull the trigger and get it a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Start
Exactly.
learning from others and find some like-minded people to do things. But I really think you hit on another thing that was really key, which is starting early. I think this idea about the 1%, like you're
Yeah.
kind of boiling the frog there a little bit. I mean, you can wake up and be at 20, and you're like, well, I didn't even feel it in terms of you know what I mean, the budget. If you're just moving it a little bit, can you talk about what's that? You're 15 years deep in that. What's that been like?
Yeah. Well, I will say I feel it now because
Yeah.
the percentage is higher, right?
Right.
But the muscle is already so worn in that it doesn't really change the outcome.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would viscerally suggest to anybody out there, even if it's a 0.5%, 1%, whatever it is, start giving off the top. Same for investing.
Yeah.
Take off the top what you're going to save and live on the rest. Living on what you have and then trying to give the surplus away, there's never going to be any surplus.
Mhm.
There's
One of
not,
the
it
things,
just
this is so
doesn't work
good.
that way.
One of the things that Jeff Rutt talked about early days when I was asking Jeff Rutt about, you know, giving away 80% of his business to the foundation. I said, like, what did your family think about that? What the employees think about? Jeff, I think that's an opportunity for you to just talk about like that trend. Why don't you just tell a little bit, a quick version of your story on that?
Um, well, yeah, I know the part that you always like to hear, which was kind of fun, was when we announced to the team that we had given away 89% of the non-voting stock, and this is nothing else is going to change. We still have control of the business. We're still going to grow the business. And one of our ops teams was sitting next to me in a conference room. He looked over at me, and said, "Ah, so you're like one of us now." And
You
so
just work there.
yeah, so that was but the journey was, that it was, I thought, listening to Alan Barnhart's story, which my daughter had sent me, I thought this guy's a little crazy, pretty radical. But after going through a few life events and my daughter sending me that video, just prayed with the family, and it was really a natural progression. Our lifestyle didn't change at all. It was very clarifying. I would think is the kind of the key word for me. I was doing all the same things, had the same kind of finish line in mind. It was just a clarifying way to get there. And Ivan, it's the same thing that you're talking about. You
Yeah,
probably,
exactly.
as you've increased your giving, that 1% of your lifestyle probably is probably no different than it would have been, but there's more joy in it.
Hmm.
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, the reason I wanted Jeff to tell that story, Ivan, is just kind of back up the point you were making about starting early and you get this muscle built. And a lot of times, like I'm running a multifamily office, I'm dealing with people exiting businesses all the time. And if they haven't been doing the giving early, it's a lot harder, as you identified, Ivan, to make all these big changes later.
Yeah.
But the thing, like when we've interviewed, and people can go back and listen to the interviews we've done with Barratt, Jeff's son, and when I asked him that question, and when I asked Alan Barnhart's son the same question, they both had the same reaction, which was, "Oh, it's just a natural. Like we were already doing this my entire life. So we just papered what everybody was already doing, you know." So
Yeah,
this
that's beautiful.
starting early. I mean, it's good for our soul, but it's also good for your kids. It's good for the business partner, the employee. Like you're setting the table so that things you want to do later become natural outcomes, not radical shifts that shock the people around you and maybe they can't get on board. Anyway, there's a lot to that, but I just think
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think this idea, Ivan, that you're like starting early and keep increasing it,
Yeah.
building that muscle. I like that language. Riff on
Yeah.
that for a minute, Ivan.
Well, what you had me thinking about was, and I'm sure there's some exceptions to this rule, but what's worked for me in my life is focusing on doing these little things every day
Yeah.
that have a compounding effect over
Yes.
time
Exactly.
than this
Mhm.
moment in time where I'm going to do something big.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it's working out or date night or spending time with the kiddos
Yeah. Well, and
or
it
giving.
can't.
It's this daily discipline.
Well, and just watching you and listening to your story again, Ivan, it's just you can't help but feel and hear and experience the joy in your life. And that joy is coming through partially because of your generosity, partly because of that open hands gesture of allowing God to use what's in your hands. Imagine if you would have waited till you were, 87 or 97 to say, when I die, I'm going to give this all away. You miss out on all those years
All
of
that joy, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Jeff, I'm not so sure I'd have the lifestyle I have now if I had closed hands. I'm not
Yeah.
sure that
Yeah.
the provision would be so much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't
Exactly.
want to,
No,
Yeah.
we're not in charge of that.
Yeah.
The outcomes are God's, but there does tend to be he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
in a capitalistic society, I always say, if you have a servant heart in a capitalistic society as a business owner, you tend to serve customers in a different way.
Yeah.
Your employees, it
Oh,
tends to
yeah.
be good
We
for
haven't
business,
even-
and God can use that however he wants.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the customer side of this, but you're
Right.
absolutely right. If we just take really good care of our customers, the wealth generator, the success we have is just the byproduct of doing what we should be doing anyway.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. So anyway, it's just it's this sort of positive loop
Mhm.
of activity that
Amen
which
to
is
that.
the way God designed the world to work, frankly.
Right.
Seems that way. So that's what I've learned so far.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, it's been a real joy, Ivan, to have you on the program and hear your story. I know it's going to be a benefit to many. Thanks again.
Been a joy to be here, guys. Thank you for having me.
Jeff
Thank you,
Rutt,
Ivan.
thanks as always for being here, my man.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for joining us. Subscribe on YouTube, share it with a friend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Generous Business Owner Podcast with Jeff Thomas, Alan Barnhart, and Jeff Rutt. Make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can find the guest contact information in the show notes. Stay tuned for the next episode.